get started.
All right, guys, it's 6 o'clock. It's Wednesday night. It's Real Unfiltered Talk along James Bryant, and alongside I have tonight two-time world champion, big guy in fishing.
Yeah.
And a nice guy at that.
Thanks.
Dion Hibden. What's up, Dion?
Thanks for putting that last little dab in there.
No, I didn't.
I'm
Did
doing
you?
good.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
So before we came on the air, you said I fished twice this week, man. That's a record-setting deal.
It was for me.
Way to go, dude.
Yeah, it's finally cooling off to where I enjoy going out there.
Nice.
It's nice not having. Isn't it nice when you don't have to go?
I can remember when I was still working. Yeah, it could be wintertime, and my day off was Wednesday, and
Yeah,
it could
you
be
had to
2
go.
degrees. I went. You
Yeah.
know. Now you're like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
See, we haven't even got him introduced yet, and he's already talking. This is going to be a good night.
That's right.
We have a big show tonight. Lots of information, lots of stuff. But let's start out. We want to welcome tonight the big name in local fishing, kind of Central United States, Roger Fitzpatrick. Roger, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. Thanks, James. Thanks for having me.
You bet. You ready for your stats?
Nah,
I do it
whatever.
every show. We have to break down the angler. So for those of you that may or may not know Roger Fitzpatrick, hey, turn it down there, guys. Turn that sound down. It's too loud. Yep. See, we have this audience, Roger, and they just got to learn the rules. They haven't quite got there yet, but they'll get it. We hear that feedback.
Pretty
So
rowdy.
You can't
Yeah,
kick
they're-
him out. You can't
they
kick
will
that
be.
one out though. He owns the building.
they will be. Say that they used to have drinking games, Roger.
Really?
If we said live scope or forward facing sonar, they all drank. And the first few weeks we were all drunk.
I could imagine.
Drunker than 50 Indians. Anyway, Roger Fitzpatrick, MLF stats, career, 11 career wins, 62 top tens, career earnings of $395,538, including a $70,000 win on Grand Lake in 2019, 3-day total weight of, do you remember?
Grand, I know I had them good the first day, real good, like 26, but I think the next 2 days were average.
50-15 was your 3-day total there. So then you had to go over to BSS, which you were stellar over there. You fished 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
1 win, 1 top 10. But here's the cool part about it. $4,600 in earnings, which puts you over the 400K mark. So congratulations on a wonderful career so far.
Thank you.
Not bad. But you only fished 1 lake outside of Lake of the Ozarks, Grand. It's Stockton. You had to win at Stockton, too.
Table Rock.
And Table Rock.
Yep.
Central United States. So what's the secret? How do you make so much money fishing locally?
I'm just old. I've been doing it a long time. So, no, just been blessed to be able to do it a long time, and just similar to Dion, kind of grew up with it early on, and just more than anything, you ask the secret, just fish your strengths.
Right. So, not to get into the whole. What are you over there reading there?
Nothing.
I'll get to that later. That's your
I'm
cheat
just-
sheet. You
I'm
can't
just looking.
you can't see that yet. See, he's got to jump the gun on stuff. I have to give him visual tools because you won't remember it later. So I had to put a big picture in front of him. Like,
Don't make me take over.
go ahead. So how long you been fishing, Raj?
Tournament fishing, gosh. I started right out of, basically as soon as I got out of college. So that would have been 85 probably. So I can't do the math. It's been a long time. I started years ago fishing with Mark Sneeders. I had a jet boat, fished the rivers. And when I fished Lake of the Ozarks, I didn't know there was any other part than the launch at Buffalo Creek at Hiawatha Beach, and I launched there. I can't even tell you how many times, but I had an 80-horse jet with an all-weld, and then fished the Osage River and Gasconade River, fished with my brother Wayne on those tournaments, and just been kind of gradually from there, fished with Bruce Geyer from Eldon, a very well-known fisherman years ago, fished against Dion and Guido all the time. Learned a bit from him. Learned that there were actually bass that lived a lot closer to takeoff than I used to run. So he taught me a lot about that.
I thought that was a Denny Brower line, wasn't that? Or was that a Guido line or a Denny Brower line?
What's that?
Don't go so far to take off to find fish.
Oh, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I've never even heard that. You guys are talking trash.
Well, coming from a guy who has to make an 80-mile-an-hour run to prove a point. All your stories are about how he's got to tell stories about how he's got to pass people, because back in the day, in the 80s, it was all about having the fastest 150, right?
I did.
See, I did. See,
You didn't have to think about it.
I think that was the difference between you and your dad, because you run hard, he would always say, "Save your equipment, and get home."
I wasn't bad on equipment. I just did not like fishing around people. Roger's the same way. Okay, if we can fish all day long and see one other competitor, that's really a good day. And it's not that I'm not friendly, because overall, you guys can attest, I'm a pretty friendly dude.
On
But
the
when I'm
first
out on the
Thursday of every
water-
month.
When I'm out on the water, I just don't want to talk to nobody. I want to fish and be all by myself.
I got you.
So
All right.
back in the day, I did spend a lot of time driving a bass boat.
Okay. And now I have a much better understanding of just what you told me a little bit so far, because, my dad told me this morning, he said, "Hey, if Roger's come on, let him know how pissed off I am, because there's no business he needs to be up there fishing Ivy Bend tournaments and jackpotting all our money when they got a good shot at it, not realizing that you're a river rat like the rest of us."
It's where I grew up, man. Like I said, I didn't know anywhere other place to drive the Hiawatha Beach, and we used to go up there a lot in the spring when at 654, all the obstructions have fox squirrels on them. I mean, it's dirt.
That's right.
And that's the best time to learn it up there. A lot of people don't realize that. They're scared to go up there in the spring. Well, you can see all the hazards in the spring. If it's 655 is where you can get in trouble and on up. But had that jet boat, and if you did, happen to get up there less than a foot deep, you didn't tear anything up. But ran up and down that river, learned it with that jet boat. So yeah, very, very familiar with the Ivy Bend boys and the area that they fish a lot.
So were you a self-taught angler, or did you have like somebody that carried you up the river and kind of showed you things and did things, a mentor, as you will? Or was there?
Pretty much on here, just kind of self-taught, me and my brother Wayne.
So you and Wayne is self-proclaimed awesome.
Yep.
Got
it. We just came up and back then I can still remember we had the paper graphs basically, and had that jet boat, and we were going. All she would do about 25 down the lake and trying to hold that paper up to see how to run and get in these creeks. But that's how we learned it.
There are still guys, old guys, Dion, it would say that paper graphs were damn near as good as some of the best electronics today.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you get a really
back
good
in the
one.
X15 days, that was the cat's meow.
I still own one just in case.
I can still fish under the boat probably as good with one of them as I can this new stuff.
Yeah.
Draws a better picture.
Did you ever use a flasher?
Yeah.
Did
That's what was on my boat, was a flasher.
Did you not hear when he said he started?
Doesn't mean he had I
That
knew
was all there was.
I knew a guy that had ropes, and he tied off 1 foot lengths, and they were shop rags, and he did a white rag, a red rag, a white rag, and he would drop it down with a weight to measure depth, and he would count the colors till he got to depth. So that was.
Well, my fishing partner Dennis uses the guides for that on his rods.
On his rods.
Yeah.
We get shallow and do that. Since we're on that subject, did I tell you that Dad's boat was taken on water? Did I tell you that story?
No.
So a couple weeks ago, Dad's like, "Hey, you switch the pumps out on this boat, and he said, you didn't get one on good or something, because this thing's like pumping 3 or 4 gallons of water, every 5-6 minutes." And he said the pumps are on all the time. So brought it up here and put it in the shop and took all the pumps out, and I said, "Man, they're all fine." And I cleaned underneath the boat, and we overlooked the 3-inch hole in the bottom of it because we had been fishing in a little up the river as the line is. So yeah, so we had to do a little fiberglass repair this
Got too
last
close
week.
to a piece of rebar or something.
I don't think so. I tell you what I think. We're kind of lazy when we go to weigh in, and I like to beach the boat and stab the poles. And I think what happened is I drove it up the hill too many times in the same spot. And it's probably a big chunk, and then those power poles are rocking. And I think I just laid her on a big old rock and
There you go.
just chiseled it out. That's what I think.
Don't ever complain about my boat looking tough, okay? I don't want to hear it.
Sometimes you got to
Mine
go where
still-
the fish are.
Mine still floats.
Which,
You know.
which, by the way, I think I figured out the problem with my fishing, because last Tuesday, Dad went fish Ivy Bend with Roger and those guys, and Joe McBride, Case Scanlon won, had close to 20 pounds, and you guys had 18. Who'd you fish with?
Grant Acres.
Okay, so you fished.
No,
Okay,
Grant
and
I
then
fished.
is he good? Is he good stick too?
He is.
Okay, sometimes you have to have a net guy, but Dad divorced me that week. I worked. He went fishing. He broke 12-pound mark.
I know.
He almost had 14, so maybe I'm thinking it might be me.
I'm thinking you could get cold.
I don't cold.
Cold. Yeah.
I don't get cold.
Yeah. Well.
Divorce is a fishing divorce is what it's called.
You notice when he walked out there and he brought a beer out there. He brought a beer for his new fishing partner.
Well, Mom's here tonight, so
He
yeah.
didn't, and I don't see one sitting in front of you. So.
That's because we drank too much bourbon last week. I
Oh.
drank too
see.
much bourbon last week, so I had to layer back a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, great. Well, that's the show. We're done.
You may be
Got nothing else.
replaced. He just hasn't told you yet.
Maybe. I
My
doubt
dad
it.
used to do the same thing to me. I mean, you know,
But you got to
when
remember,
he found a better partner.
I am like dynamite personality to fish with. You know, everyone thinks I'm kind of an asshole, but you get on the
Well-
water, I'm a bundle of joy.
That's a big thing in a professional bass angler's personality,
You know, if you have to have a good time.
and it helps to know how to catch them. You know, so
Welcome to the show, Roger.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
you got to have both of those.
Good Lord. So we had some overflow from last week, Dion. We had questions that came in after your bluegill rant. I told Roger, I said, you ranted for an hour and 15 minutes on the bluegill spawn. And you know what Roger said before the show?
What?
He's like, I've been having a little trouble, you know, not trouble. He said this, I've been really trying to chase him, just haven't seen a whole lot. And I kind of snickered. I'm like, oh, you went the wrong place. And then he said, oh, I've been green bridging up. And I went, damn it.
Maybe
So,
not.
Maybe not.
Maybe
yeah,
not
so,
in the wrong place. Yeah.
So for those who are listening all over the country, we're referring to the Lake of the Ozarks, and there is a big, broad area of the lake, which is called the lower end, and when you get to about the 31-mile marker and up is considered the Osage Arm or the river end, and about, 5-6 miles up, there's a big green bridge, what we call it the Green Bridge, which is the Hurricane Deck Bridge, and then from there on up, it gets skinnier and dangerous and more fun to fish.
I thought that was kind of a cool concept, though.
What's
Making
that?
everybody stay above the bridge. I mean, it.
When?
In
Last
that
week?
tournament, the tournament that.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
not the one that they
Yeah,
fished, but
2 weeks ago, yeah.
yeah, 2 weekends ago, they fished one that it was above the Green Bridge completely.
Gotcha.
You couldn't go
Well,
below it.
that's really not a new deal because I've been talking. I told the guys at Big Bass Bash when Bass and Bob was on, and when Randy Terrell were both on, I said we need to spin the wheel. See, my concept, Roger, is everyone comes in for pre-night, and you register, and then everyone gets in the room. And we pick like 5 giant coves. Do like Gravois, do Niangua, you do a river section, and you spin the wheel. And whichever wheel he hits, that's where you fish. So nobody knows until the night of.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of eliminates the pre-fishing side of it. I thought it was like super awesome. And they looked at me kind of like you're looking right now. It's like, no.
I'd be good with it. I like all parts of it.
Yeah, well, wait.
You might talk that stuff to some people and it might bother them, but not me and Roger, because
All right, so that's,
we pretty much fish from one dam to the next.
that's right. That's right.
and
So
it's all good.
so here's some questions, and we'll alternate, okay? Because I think they kind of apply to both of you tonight. Got an email that said, when you guys catch a bass, tournament fish, when you're pre-fishing, okay? You catch a tournament keeper pre-fishing. How long does it take until a bass will bite again? So, and this is a two-part question, because the next question is how late should you pre-fish before you need to lay your rod down and not hook fish? In your guys' opinion, and then how long do you think that fish will go again until they bite a second time?
You know, this isn't a real good testimony, but I had a 160-gallon aquarium in my basement for years. I kept crappie bass in there, and I kept, I'd feed them a couple, 3 times a week with minnows. The 2-pounders eat that day. Minnows will be gone that night if I put them in there. 4-pounder, it may take 4 or 5 days for there be all those minnows still be in there. I had a 7-pounder in there one time that it was a month, never touched those minnows. Don't know why or how that even makes sense. That's just what I've noticed about it. And it's not, like I said, a good testimony because they're in captivity there.
Right,
It's not like
right.
they're out there in their home. So, but I did notice that.
And I'll let you answer too, but we have about a 80-gallon, I guess, and we had a 2-pounder in there, and I found that I did it with chompers. I could take just a twin-tail grub, I drop it in without a hook. He'd take it, suck it up, hold it, run, spit it out, and he'd do it like 3 or 4 times. Then he would stop. It would never do it again. But if I took a green pumpkin one out and put a white one in, he'd do it again. He would eat something different, but he wouldn't eat the same thing twice. Dion, hey, your brother's here.
I believe. I mean, I believe that I can catch the same fish within a day or two most of the time. I've done it. I've caught. To say you catch a big old dominant one, pretty quick. Now, most of the time that's a week, at least. But a good 3-pounder, yeah, I've caught them the next day. Go back and make the same pitch in the same hole, catch it out of there, and it have a scuff mark on it, where I caught it the day before. But like I say, I am a firm believer those bigger ones are smarter and they just know when to lay off of it.
So,
But I do know that I weigh in some of them weeks after. I'm pretty sure of
sure,
that.
sure.
We kind of got into that last week about some of those dock fish. Some of those dock fish are
Say dock.
dock.
Okay, dock. I thought you said DOT, dot fish. I was like,
Some of those
the hell are you
dock
talking
fish
about? Dock. Got it.
are resident bass. That's a bass that lives there. That's where he lives. He doesn't swim hundreds of yards in his lifetime. He swims 10 yards in his lifetime. He swims to the front of the dock or he swims up under the dock. Sometimes he'll get after a little school of shad, but that's where he lives, is under that dock. And I'm positive I've caught those fish multiple times,
The resident bass.
And there's lots of times that, and I'm sure Roger's got places where he does not go until he's got the right tournament on the line.
Right,
Because
which is?
Something worth some money. Something.
No, I was
not
asking
the wet
specifically
spot tournament.
because
Okay.
I fish up there, so I want to know.
Yeah, well,
I want to know, Roger. Where do you go?
Yeah.
But you
Not
gotta.
talking.
I'm fortunate enough that the 2-day BFL here in the fall, I've been pretty successful at it, and so have my kids. And it's for one reason: we don't waste those little handful of bass that we know he lives under that corner of that dock always, and it's normally a 4-pounder. We don't catch that fish. We don't ever fish for that fish until it's worth the money. Until it's, until we need a 16, 18-pound day. And everybody's got them. Everybody sitting in this crowd's got a spot where they know they can go catch one big one. All right?
No,
Fishing for,
not everybody.
Fishing like me and Roger have since '85. Guess what? We got several of those little spots, and we're smart enough not to use them up. When we go out fishing to have fun, we don't go waste that fish.
Right.
We go try to find new ones, but like I say, in September when fishing kind of gets really hard, and you're gonna probably fish boat docks a lot, we try to get a pattern going of some sort, to where we can catch 5. And maybe even your 11-pound spot. You never know. I might have to use that someday. But up the river.
Don't laugh. That's damn. You don't.
Up
you're
the river.
Everybody's feeding off of this.
I grew up straight across from Bollinger Creek. And when I say I grew up over there, for about 10 years of my life, that's where I fished every day out of an 18-foot Landau John boat with a 35-horse tiller handle Evinrude on it. And I know where most of those big fish live. And in September, I start going up there and I pluck them off on some of them bigger tournaments. And that's why we win. Unfortunately, I have to share with Lawson now. So now I'm down to about 3 good real spots.
Is he sharing? Is he sharing earnings?
Huh?
Is he sharing earnings when you give up information?
Are you kidding? Really? You
Maybe
think so?
maybe you
Does
should
Chase-
stop. Maybe you should
does
stop
Chase-
giving the information.
Does Chase share his earnings with you,
Heck
Roger?
no, man.
No.
I don't ever see
Just
it.
asking,
thanks,
but you
Dad.
give up you help him out.
Absolutely.
It doesn't grease the pig.
I'm
Nothing?
hoping that's going to be coming later. I don't know. I'm still waiting.
All right.
Still waiting.
You have anything to add on this river concept?
What Dion's saying is totally true. I fished with Bass and Bob in that can't go below the Green Bridge tournament that day, and I actually practiced a day or two. I practiced 2 days. I practiced the lower stretch, Green Bridge up, and I practiced higher, way on up there. I never once fished where I thought I was going to fish in a tournament.
Yeah.
And I called Bob and I said, it ain't that good. It's not that good. I think maybe 16, 17 might win this. And we had 15 and a half pounds. I had a 5.5 pounder and knew all day we needed one bite to win. It wasn't even close. They killed them that day. There was 3 18-pound sacks and then a night loss and won it with almost 20. But the point is, we still had a good day fishing where they live.
Yeah.
Fishing those spots where I don't know what I can't even describe it. I tried to fish places around it, typical pattern, but they live where they live.
Yep.
They live where they live.
So, I'm going to be the guy that asks all the dumb questions tonight. So you guys have your resident bass and your regular spots, but since 1985, conditions have changed. Brush piles change, structure changes. There's erosion. those spots can't stay to keep producing year after year unless you keep it the same, right? I mean, for an example, I know Mid Lake area, there was a brush pile we used to always catch big fish out of, and over the years it broke down. Well, you put brush back in it, it wasn't the same kind of brush, and whatever it was didn't hold those fish the same. Yeah. So I guess, is it more important to fish, a bank versus what's underneath the water, where it's going to hold those bigger fish? I'm asking, because you make fun of me every damn week about 11 pounds, which, by the way, Roger, for like the last, what's it been, 16 tournaments? Something like that? I have fished 16 tournaments and caught a limit at every tournament.
That's impressive.
Every tournament. But they are all 12 pounds. 10 to 12 pound strings, 15-inch fish. Never can find a big fish. And where those big fish used to live for me, my magic dock is not so magic anymore. So, and I can't figure out why or what happened, because I've got those spots. We've had those spots. I mean, I've lived there since the 80s too, but my resident bass have moved. So they did a change of address, apparently went to your spots. So I mean, what retains a fish in that spot?
There's just certain areas that hold them.
Or is it just time on the water?
I kind of feel bad. These guys out here in the crowd are going to think, what did he say last week? Were you not listening at all?
I think you said, I'm just that good. Shut up. I think that's what he told me.
Well, that came out too,
yeah.
I'm sure. But no, but I mean,
I'm kidding. You didn't say that.
But it's just because I didn't think of it.
Yeah.
I would have said it if I had thought of it, but I was on a roll,
He was on a roll. I think I got 2 sentences in last week. He was just going.
But, it takes everything. It takes the food. And in those places where you catch those fish consistently, there's a good food source there. Because a big bass wouldn't live there unless they could eat what they want, and
I think I'm gonna.
And like I said last week, I think a big bluegill's a lot for a food. A food source for a lot of these resident bass. It's not all shad, and sometimes it's bluegill, and if you get around the right kind of spots, some places are where these people around these docks bait them, and
right.
bait bluegill for their grandkids and stuff like that. Come down there and fish.
So I guess let me just spin this over to Roger real quick. So I guess I'm gonna change my name. Instead of James, I'm gonna call myself the Bass Investigator. That's the BI, the BIG, Bass Investigator Grande. So we're not really talking about a given spot, a location, but more so of what conditions, what areas those fish reside under, and after time you kind of learn to where those fish are. Because you said bait's not always going to be on that. The wind's not always going to blow in your magic dock. It's not always going to blow in your magic brush pile. But the conditions along with those, if you can find them, will make that resident bass show himself. Yes, no?
Yeah, and then the other part of that is a good spot in March may not be a good spot in September. A good spot in August, forget about it in March. The lake's 4 or 5 feet
right.
higher. There's so many things that attribute to that. But typically, if you match the same time of the year, the same water level, the same water clarity, those type things seem to hold true about every year.
Do you do a journal?
I used to. I've got pages that I used to, after every practice day, after every tournament, I used to write it down. But if you ask Dennis, my fishing partner, my brother-in-law, I've got a tremendous memory for where I've gotten a bite. If I forget my kids' birthdays, but I do remember that.
You round a corner and you're like, hey, Dennis, there's a big boulder like right down the other side of that eye hook, about 8 feet out, right?
Yep.
Yeah, those are we've got those. Yeah, and I do understand the seasons of bass. We're talking pre-spawn, post-spawn. Summer months, get in the fall, you get the 60-degree water in the fall. You get the academic spawn, which that's another one we have. That's our own made-up name. You ever heard of the academic spawn?
Never.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
In the fall, when the water gets 60 degrees and you have a full moon, they academically move up like they're gonna do the same thing again, like they do in the spring. But instead, they realize this is a fall forage, so they eat everything instead. True, false? Do you believe in an academic spawn?
I believe they move shallow because the gizzards are up there. But
gizzards or threadfin?
I chase the gizzards in the fall.
Are there both species in the lake?
Yeah.
Okay. That's another argument. You know what?
He's going to have a conservationist come on here to prove that there are no threadfins in there. And I'm like, I don't give a crap if they do.
You know the state of Missouri says there's no threadfin in this lake?
I don't know what they call them then because they're this big.
I'm just saying. Well, those are young ones.
No.
They're smaller. They're a smaller hatch. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying
I've been from one end of this planet to the other. I know what a threadfin looks like.
Roger, I'm a reader.
Just tell
Okay,
me.
I read. Well, they also, the state record.
Do you believe everything the Missouri Conservation tells you?
I'd like him to come on the show,
Remember-
so we're going to
remember the
refuse to
mountain
answer
lions
that
and
this
stuff
time.
like- oh, there's none of those.
I'm not going to answer
Really?
that right
Okay.
now. Not answering it.
Oh,
I'd
damn.
love. I've been working all week with the conservation department to get somebody on here, so I'm just saying. Just saying. But on the research side, state record muskie came out of Lake of the Ozarks, 1978. Guess how many they stocked? None.
3.
None. But in 76, a truck broke down over in Climax Springside, and they dropped 500 in because they were going to die. That's the only recorded record of muskie in this lake. 2 years later, they catch a state record. So those fingerling grew to state record weights in 2 years. Incredible. How'd that happen? I'm just saying.
They're
Just
animals.
saying. So yeah, I mean,
Have you ever messed with muskies? They're animals.
they stink.
That's like
Well, the
that's
tiger
like
muskies stink,
that's
right?
like a spotted bass on steroids. They eat anything that comes in front of them. And guess what? They got dumped in here, and it was probably a totally brand new forage to some extent for them. They're in pomme de terre, so they eat the same things.
Those are tigers. Those are the slimy, stinky ones.
What?
Tiger muskie and pommy.
No, Pommy's got both of them.
Here we go
They
again.
got regular muskies. I don't care if you believe me or not, and I hope you do. I hope you bring the guy that stocked them to tell me, because
He's probably dead.
my best friend Jim Smith guided on pomme de terre forever, for 30 years, and they are regular muskies. They're northern muskies.
See, did you think we'd
Now
get
they
into a
have-
muskie conversation tonight?
They
There
do
we go.
have
I've caught some
tiger
big ones
muskies
over
in
there.
there.
Wait, but here's
Absolutely, but those are stocked.
here's a river rat challenge question. Did you ever hear about the big muskie they would catch every year way, way up the river by the dam? I think it's, yeah.
I
No?
never have. Not
Seriously?
On this lake.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. You know about that one?
Nope.
Do you remember John Cruson just passed away a few years back, but John was a big river rat and fished with Kevin Owen a lot. And like, every 2 years, they go in this river and they throw a spinnerbait, and they catch like the 60-inch muskie. And they would take pictures of it and turn it back loose. And everybody, it's kind of like an albino deer. Everybody knew it lived in this cove. And like 2 years ago, some gal caught it and mounted it. It pissed off every
And we're
fisherman
done.
up there. It's like, and the game's over.
And we're finished.
He was like there forever. It was like, there's some great pictures of it. And that's like, damn it. Kevin came in, he's like, some gal caught my muskie and put it on the wall. And I said, well, you're just pissed because you didn't do it. He's like, well, I was letting it live.
I saw a 6-pound smallmouth come out of the. I saw a 6-pound smallmouth come out of the cove at Shawnee Bend Ramp. She came into the tackle store and she said, "Man, something's just breaking me off. Every time I get on a nice crappie, it just breaks me off." I said, "Well, and I gave her some 10-pound braided line. She caught it, and it was like a 6 1/4 pound smallmouth. I said, "What'd you do with it?" She said, "Oh, we ate it." I'm like, "Oh,
We
there
ate
you
it.
go. Perfect. That's exactly what I told you to do.
All right, so while we're on the muskie talk, and I'll try to get us away from the muskie talk, one of the other questions we had last week between shows was the Lake of the Ozarks anglers are emailing saying the topwater bite is just not as good this year as it has been in past years. True, false? What's the story there? Or is there one? Because I haven't. I personally, upriver, have not had a good quality topwater bite.
I went Sunday, and I went Sunday with Lloyd, who owns Hiawatha Beach, and we saw a ton of little bitty tiny shad on the surface. Now, Lawson, my son, said that the week before, it was a pretty good day, and he saw several gizzards. Yeah. We never saw a big shad on Sunday anywhere. Mm-hmm. And we fished in 2 or 3 of the major creeks up there, running around, and the bulk of the shad were about 1 inch long, and never seen a fish bust into them. And Lloyd had said, because he's big on going out at night and catching a lot of white bass and stuff like that, and he said that had not happened up there. Now that's on the very upper end. Now down low end, I couldn't tell you. I haven't been that much down here, and when I do, I fish out deep, for the most part. But that's the only thing I know about a topwater.
So the answer is, yeah, it's not that good.
Well, it hasn't been up the lake.
Okay. Roger?
That's coming from a guy who fishes 2 or 3 evenings a week.
I have not fished what I call home Gravois in our store area. I have not fished down there for over a month now, so I can't answer that down there. But I have fished a lot in the river from Greenbridge up to the 80, and we've had several of the tournaments, the Ivy Bend guys, and then Bass and Bob fished. We had a 5.5 pounder on top water. Bass and Bob and I did.
All right, break it down, because we have these long, detailed topwater conversations. Can't just say topwater. Was it a prop bait, chugger, spook, whopper plopper? Prop bait. Okay, Chopo. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Chopo.
Do you know the difference between a whopper plopper and a Chopo?
The Chopo makes more noise.
Do you know why?
It's a plastic bait. It's
Better bait.
It's not rubber.
No, you guys.
Cheaper, better.
No, the plopper has a soft rubber tail,
It's hard
and the
plastic,
Chopo has a
yeah.
hard plastic tail.
Hard pla-
Makes
and
different
it
sound.
breaks.
See, you learned something today, didn't you?
I can't believe anybody uses a whopper plopper anymore.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're $18 or
That too.
I don't know.
You can buy what's the
I'm
Chopo?
still-
What's a Chopo cost? 8.
No, they're higher. $11.99. Something in that
Really?
ballpark. Yeah, nothing's cheap anymore, man. You think you can buy a crankbait for $8
Your
now?
prices might be too high. I'm
You've
not
been in the
sure.
storage unit way too long. A tackle warehouse even have one for $8.
Come on, are you
Do
sure?
you get yours free still?
I've never gotten them free.
No, I'm just asking. We'll get to that point. I'm
No.
just curious, but yeah.
No.
I just think
No,
it's a
I'm
better,
still-
I think it's a better bait. I don't know why, but mine don't tear up.
Which one? The Chopo?
The Chopo's the one that I like. I guided a guy from Colorado last year for like 5 days, and he threw the same Chopo for all 5 days. That's pretty impressive because he couldn't cast at all. All right, it was more on the bank than it was off the bank, and I still got that bait in my box. So and you wouldn't do that with a whopper plopper. The head would break on it.
Well, you don't hit the dock uprights.
They're just a little tougher, I think.
I got you.
Tougher, cheaper. For me,
All right.
better.
This is not a shameless plug. We're just talking the difference between the two.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Oh,
So,
I've got a whole box full of them expensive ones,
yeah,
and I don't carry them anymore even.
Yeah, we did a show on the new iCast stuff that's coming out. So Heddon's coming out with us. Do you remember the spitting image? It was like a flat-sided injured minnow that you could use like a spook.
Yeah.
They're coming with a plopper tail on it.
Really.
And I'm interested because that's going to be about a 4-inch long bait.
Should be the right size.
Yeah, and it's real shaddy. I'm kind of excited about that. And probably it'll be that same bull crap that happens all the time. They'll punch it out there and see what response is, and everybody's like, meh, and they'll never make it. And I'll be waiting and waiting. I'm like, you buttholes. You ever seen that? They'll go out and they'll like test market it and go, hey, we're going to throw this out there. And everybody goes, no. And they don't make it. And it's like, oh, it's been back ordered. It's on the slow boat. Yeah, it's 6 years from now. So anyway, if not, we'll cut one in half and build one and tell everybody we bought one.
We've caught several on a buzz bait too. Grant last week he caught the first 1 or 2 I think on a buzz bait.
With a trailer?
With a trailer hook. He had a
Okay.
trailer hook, but
No rubber? No skipping frog? No.
I think he had. I can't remember, but I think he had a frog on instead of a skirt.
See,
which
I
is
can
buzz.
I can milk the information out. It just takes me a little bit, but I get it. So,
The best 2 we caught the day that I fished with Lloyd were on a buzzbait.
yeah. Knocker or no knocker?
No, it's not a knocker. It was just
Do
a
you
regular buzzbait.
do you hang yours out the window for extra noise? Do you manipulate your buzz bait
No.
straight out of the package?
Yep.
Do you ever tune it to turn left or right?
No.
Turn into the dock, any of that kind of stuff?
I mean,
Man,
no.
you're like super old school. You just throw a jig and throw some top water and that's it.
Half-ounce jig and whatever.
What's your favorite color?
Dirtier water, black and blue, of course. And then if it clears up a little bit, I use the Chobe as my favorite. It's kind of a green and blue.
And blue?
Mhm.
I mean, we all have our go-to.
Those
You
are
know?
the 2. I mean, pretty much. In spring of the year, I like a little orange in it, maybe. But other than that, those are the 2 that I use.
Are you one of those that you stick your finger down the throat of a bass and see what color the crawdad is he swallowed? Turn over rocks? And how the hell do you know to put an orange bait on? When?
I mean,
I'm just that good, and it's like I just do it
I
in
don't
March
know.
because that's
80, 85. Don't forget that. Don't let that number leave your mind at any time. 1985.
I'm not picking on you,
No, that's
kinda,
fine.
but you get it, right?
yeah.
I still check mine. I still get out and look for
Roger,
them.
how old are you?
60
Did you just retire
last September.
last September? I thought you did. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You were gosh dang, last time I remember, I think you were with Kraft Foods.
Kraft sold,
To Melendez?
We were
Yep.
were Nabisco. Kraft bought us out, and then shortly after that, Mondelez International.
Yeah. So
which is Nabisco Cadbury.
can I talk negative about them?
You can.
I was so
He doesn't
sad.
work for him
So I
anymore.
love, yeah. So I'm just making sure because it might pull your benefits. I don't know, but I was so disappointed because my favorite thing is Oreos. Looking back, they're made in Mexico now.
They are. That
The
happened
Mexican
several years ago.
Oreos, man, what the heck?
I know it's stupid.
Yeah, look at you see the one in the back. He's like, what? Yeah, Oreos are made in Mexico.
It's
Yeah.
crazy because we
Yeah.
went through shortly after that happened. There were some border issues down there, and we had a shortage on Oreos because we couldn't get the trucks across the border. It's messed up.
Yeah, and I'm not
I don't know
against.
if you guys know this, but I could get a team of guys to go get them.
Oh my
They
God.
would cross
And
the
I'm
border
not-
and
this
fight their
doesn't-
way
yeah.
back.
I'm not saying that.
That's
And I'm
right.
not saying
and
that.
most of them are sitting at this table right here.
Yeah,
Man.
just so we're clear, I'm not saying anything wrong with Mexican cookies, or the Mexican population. I'm just saying that,
Taking
it's
jobs
just,
there.
it's just different. No, it's not about that. I just don't want to eat the Mexican Oreo.
Yeah.
I want the white crispy that some American spit in, and I at least feel a little better about it. That's that. Did you know? Hey, here's on the food thing, and I'm gonna get off the food thing. But there's a sriracha shortage. Did you know that?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Is that a bad thing?
yeah,
Oh,
but
is that-
actually hung tao chili sauce sriracha. You know what that is, right? You ever eat sriracha?
Yeah.
So there's you ever seen the clear bottle? It
It
looks like
sounds
it's got a
hot.
squirter on it and it's got roosters on it.
I think I might.
That's the hung tao or whatever they call it, but it's the Chinese version. It's the best sriracha out there. You can't get it anywhere. Which, by the way, is owned by Red Gold now, which makes ketchup. Okay, so my daughter was in St. Louis. She's like, I've been all over St. Louis. I cannot find sriracha. So I made this mission. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna look for sriracha. Look for sriracha. Figured out how stupid I was. Sriracha is not found in the ketchup aisle or the hot sauce aisle. It's over in the ethnic food section. Yeah. So I went to Walmart the other day, out of all places, was cruising to the grocery store, walked down the ethnic section, and guess what? They had piles of sriracha. And I took a picture real quick, sent it to my daughter. I'm like, how much you want? She's like, how many can I get? And I'm like, I don't know what the shelf life is. So I must have looked really stupid hauling out like 20 bottles of sriracha the other day. But yeah, so I found it. Walmart, Versailles, Missouri. If you guys need it, there might still be some left. It's like $3.50 a bottle. Awesome. So that's my cookie sriracha story. And it was good. So back to fishing.
Oreos and sriracha.
Yeah.
I know. So your favorite method, Roger? Jig? Not a jig?
Gosh, I love flipping a jig, but I mean, my favorite. If you're going to ask me my favorite, it's top water. It's top water.
You watch them hit
Yeah, I mean, that's
Turn your
hard
head
to beat.
away?
That's hard to beat. I mean, no,
just for the excitement of it?
yeah.
Are you a quail hunter?
No, I went once in my life. I went with Bruce Geyer when he still had
Mm-hmm.
dogs, and it was a blast. But that's the only time I've been.
The reason I asked, I kind of equate the two. There's nothing more exciting than a rising covey. It makes your heart beat, and you're all excited, and they're like hauling ass. The dog's locked up. It's cool. Same thing with topwater. Once they blow, it's like it's fun stuff. Fun stuff. And
What? Nope, nothing.
oh, you're
Nope, I agree with you.
figuring to argue about that too?
Nope, not at all. No argument here. I agree with you. I love top watering. I mean, here in another month and a half, it'll be on and winning tournaments doing it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot in between now and then that I really, really enjoy though too.
Yep.
So Dion really moves to a spook in the fall. Just so you know, don't you?
It's a lot.
Yeah, you like the walking bait.
I would much rather throw walking bait than anything else when it comes to top waters.
You like spook?
I do. I like if I'm throwing one. I love throwing that great big thing, but a sexy dog.
Nah.
The size is a little bit more bite to catch ratio's better. They don't miss it and you don't lose them because the weight's not as heavy. I've had nightmares with them jumping and throwing it. But yeah, I love a spook.
Gotcha.
Before my wife and kids started traveling with me, my roommate was Charlie Campbell. I roomed with Charlie Campbell for about 6 years, and just for fun, about every other tournament, we would spend a day of practice together, and that was probably one of the greatest things I ever did in my life, because he could do things with a topwater that just kind of defy gravity. I mean, it's just crazy have one come up and bite it, and he could make it back up. He could twitch it and throw his line to it, and when it would, that thing would back up that far. And in a 5-pounder's face, it was history. But that's why I like walking baits probably more than anything. Is got lucky enough to spend several days in a boat with probably one of the better topwater guys ever to live.
I had to fishing with Dennis is a kind of a running joke with us for a while because I lost so many on a spook. I would have to ask permission if I could throw it.
Ask permission.
I said, "Hey, Dad, can I throw a spook?" And he'd take a big sigh. I guess so.
Just stop embarrassing me. You got to land them.
Yeah.
So I guess this is a kind of a question because I consider you guys both legends in the sport, even though you're not that old, but very, very well respected in the Lake of the Ozarks and in fishing in general. Who was your idol? Watching through those years, who'd you like? Don't say Dion; he don't count. And you don't have to say me, but I know you really like it. But I'm a good fisherman, but just,
not knowing any
worldwide, it's fine.
Anglers personally, Guido was just, a tremendous ambassador. For us around here, gosh, what he did, I can remember watching him, and just hoping someday that I could do something like that.
Did you ever get? You never got trash talked by him, then, did you?
Not by Guy, no.
No.
No, he was always polite to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I guess maybe if you start it, that's how it comes back. Because I remember one of the last.
Are you talking about yourself?
Yeah.
And you don't?
Yeah. It's like I just go to him and say, "Hey, man,
I'm starting to wonder why I do this.
I'm gonna whip your ass today." And he was like, "You got title of your boat?" I'd be like, "What?" He's like, "You got title of your boat?" And I realized he was serious. He's like, "Yeah, we'll fish for boats today." And I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna play that game." But
I kind of admired a lot of guys on the local level. But when I was really young, there were some guys that were good at specific techniques that you tried to duplicate. I can remember Jimmy Stamper in October. Wayne and I used to fish the Laurie Bass Cat tournament in October every year. Well, Jimmy walked away with that thing every year. He hit 20 pounds every day, both days. And until everybody found out what he was actually doing, he was blowing tournaments away. So he was somebody that,
what was he doing?
He's fishing docks this deep.
Gotcha. Shallow fisherman. I haven't heard the name Stamper in a while.
And
haven't brought him up.
In the spring of the year, you had Fred Lewis.
Yep.
And Stan Snelson on a stick bait. Those guys were good. Bruce Geyer, very good. So you tried to emulate what those guys were doing on different times.
I've got Freddie Lewis's trophies and his mounted fish in the store. Yeah. When he passed away, his estate sent him over to display in the store. It's kind of neat. So I got old Freddie's stuff. It's kind of neat. Those some good
Jim
names.
Stamper still wins in the fall.
Jim Stamper's still alive?
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that. Huh.
He the most every year.
Hope he's not watching. Sorry, Jim.
Most every year in September, October, we have either a Toyota or a 2-day BFL, and Jim makes top 10 almost every fall.
Have you noticed that, since we're going to talk about old fishermen that shouldn't be fishing anymore, Joe Bennett's still out there doing it. You see that?
Yeah.
Have you seen him lately?
No.
Yeah.
No,
he's
not really.
He's getting old.
He's fished some of the Toyotas
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah. And he hangs in there.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, yeah. Crazy story.
Jim hangs in there in the most amazing ways because I don't think there's no way possible to have a bigger piece of crap boat than what Jim Stamper uses daily. And to him, it's like a Cadillac. It's just like, this is perfect. We idled out in one of the Toyotas a couple years back. It was foggy. And I told him, because I drove over, I told him, I said, it's clear right out there. I said, we have to get out of this cove. And I talked to the tournament director. I said, there's only 10 of us. I said, idle us out of here. I said, follow me on the GPS. I said, we will idle out till the fog ends. I said, and then the rest of the lake's going to be clear. And Jim was right there. He was the same way I was. He was like ready to get out of there. And so term direction, okay, that's what we're going to do. And he talked it over with the top 10, and we idled away, and we didn't idle a half a mile, and it cleared off. Well, everybody had to shut their boat off because he went through, they played the national anthem, they prayed, and they, said, oh, and they checked the kill switches, and Jim had idled up to me, and his partner was holding on to my boat, and he idles up next to me, and when he said, okay, boys, shut them off, we're going to check your kill switches, Jim goes, shit. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I kind of got to hot wire this thing. And I'm like, what? and he says, yeah, he says, my ignition doesn't work. I'm like, how are you going to fish today? Because he was fishing shallow boat docks just like I was. I said, how are you going to do that today? Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt. And he shut it off. They played the anthem, they prayed, and they said, okay, we'll check the kill switches, and, raise your hand if your partner had to raise her hand if a kill switch worked. And and I'm sitting there next to this guy, and Jim's down there fixing to get under the boat and hot wire it. And they said, okay, all the amateurs raise their hands. And I just reached over, grabbed that guy's hand, and I held his hand up. I said, your stuff ain't going to work, dude.
Stuff ain't gonna
I said,
work.
at least you want to sit here today. You better raise your damn hand. And, well, that's not really fair. I said, fair, you want to go or not, And needless to say, Jim, sure enough, got under the dash, and he was pulling out some wires. He twisted them together, and is it going? No, it's not going yet, Jim. And finally it fired off, and I said, you got to do that every time? Yeah, kind of. I said, you reckon you ought to get that fixed? Oh, it ain't that big a deal. I don't know about you, but I sometimes pull in fish one dock.
Exactly.
And then I want to move to, 20 docks down or something like that.
Got to take a little break here. Just hold on a second here. Let me see if I can get this going. Let me see if I can pull this up. Are you there? All right, hold on a minute. So I got a new section of the show. We got to just take a quick little break here. Let me see if I can hear you. All right, check this out. This is 60 Seconds with Peyton Hibden, because he calls every stinking week ever during the show. So I brought him on tonight. Hey, Peyton, what are you going on? What's going on, man?
I just got home, just got done playing golf, getting ready to go play bingo.
You were playing golf at 10 a.m. You just now getting home?
Well, it takes a long time to play 36.
36. Gotcha. So we're in the middle of the podcast. We got Roger Fitzpatrick here. Got your dad. You've got about 30 seconds. Got anything good to say before we kick you off tonight? Wow, your first time on the show, and this brrr.
I mean, I don't. You got two pretty awesome people on there already. I don't know what I could add that they don't already have going.
Yeah. All right. What's the fish biting on up the river?
Up the river?
Yeah.
Black and blue jig.
There you go. Well, so the stories are consistent, so it's all good. You gonna call back next week?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Well, wait till you go online. Wait till you go online and see the picture of you I put up. You're going to like it.
I find that hard to believe, but all right.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
See ya.
Bye-bye. That was Peyton Hibden. See, I had him get on. So that was 60 Seconds with Peyton Hibden.
That worked. I mean,
Ever since the first show, he didn't realize at first we were doing the show. And so when I talked to him the other day, I said, hey, why don't you call? I said, do you realize we're doing a show? He's like, yeah, you do realize I call you every day at 6 because you're having a show. I'm like, ass. I was like, all right, I got you.
I'm just gonna ask.
Mm-hmm.
Chase call you every day? Go.
See, he calls him.
Just my kids.
But hey, what's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with it. No,
except he does one of these though, Roger. He was sitting to the show. He's like, and I'm like, what? And he's like, he's done playing golf. And I'm like, seriously? So yeah. So there's 60 Seconds with Peyton. So I got that out of the way. That's new. That's a brand new segment. Sorry to interrupt the story.
No, not at all.
Of course, it was not that good of a story anyway. I was getting bored with it. Hot wire in a boat.
Yeah, it's done. Jim, if Jim's never had anything nice, not that I knew of. Every boat he gets is the same way.
I can just remember, like I said, yeah, we see him now. I mean, he does well in the spring too. He still throws that stick bait
Absolutely.
down there. But I can remember
with no electronic help probably whatsoever. I mean,
vividly in the fall. I mean, whenever you have people. When you're catching them so good, people are questioning whether you're cheating or not.
Yep.
That's it, you're catching. And he did that for several years and just dominated. But yeah, he was one of those guys that.
Since you brought it up, what's the percentage of cheaters in bass fishing locally?
Oh man.
What do you think?
There's not many, but
Right.
it happens.
Not regularly, just occasionally.
Occasionally. I mean, I'm not a team tournament guy.
Yeah.
I just.
You want to hear my line? They're bank robbers. They just pick different banks.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. So.
I mean, and there's different levels of cheating. I mean, too. But like I said, I prefer the pro-am tournaments more than anything. I really enjoy fishing with my son Chase, and then
just so you know, Paul Torman figured out a way around that too.
Paul Torman,
So-
he got a lot of people's money. He got a lot of my money.
Yeah, pro-ams are good, but you can still figure out a way to do it. Like bank robber boys pick a different bank. But that's the reason I'm getting to that is because I want to move to the next section real quick.
Back in the day, they accused my dad of cheating.
I believe that.
Huh?
My dad's like, oh, okay, let's go fishing.
And see, we've had a lot of these. I'm not getting to cheating tonight because I really want to.
Yeah,
but
let's
I'm
not.
Yeah, we're not, and we
Yeah.
don't. Because I told Roger, I told Dion, I said we could do like 3 episodes on telling people what to look for when you see things that you shouldn't see. And then we decided we could never have a show about that because that just give everybody an opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
So why
Makes them
why even
smarter.
have that conversation? It makes you smart. It's like, oh, I never thought about cheating. Now I will. So yeah, we've all seen the obvious things that we all know spend a lot of time in the water. What you should and shouldn't see. And you can just sometime come see us in person. We'll tell you, but we're not gonna advertise on the show to every amateur rookie out there that wants to figure out how to cheat. But speaking of cheating, our good friend Randy Blockett is always on the forward face sonar saying that's called a cheater box. It's called spotlighting. It's called all of these things, which breaks me to industry news. We're gonna talk about a little industry news here. A lot of discussion out there about the 2025 MLF and BSS circuit and rules changes. Have you heard anything?
The only thing I've heard is what you heard.
Okay, so what we've heard out there. So I saw a video the other day. There's some guys that do some other podcasts that I believe them. They said that what they took from iCast was that by 2026 that all forward-facing sonar will be banned from professional circuits. And we haven't talked about your opinion on that. And do you own one?
I do.
Use it?
Yes.
Not in shallow water though, right? Do you use perspective?
I don't have perspective.
You have Lowrance?
I've got Lowrance.
Okay.
Have used it, and I use it in fairly shallow water. Do I like it?
Just another tool, right?
It's another tool.
Yep.
I mean, I would rather it not be there. It's similar to the A-rig to me.
Sure.
I mean, it made fishing a lot easier for a lot of people that weren't catching them.
Okay. And again, I'm not asking you to say anything bad, but I'm going to give you some facts. MLF viewership is considerably down and has over the last 2 or 3 years, mostly because they started with any weight rule, for time periods, and there were so many numbers of small fish that viewership. And we're talking about, I'm talking industry news, not what a fisherman thinks on their opinion of this, but from an industry standpoint, it's all about sponsor dollars.
Yeah.
It's about viewership. And they started getting tired of watching all these fishermen catch 1 pound fish. They catch 90 pounds of 1 pound fish, so they quit watching. And then, so they made a 2 pound minimum. And then viewership went back up and it was cool. And then LiveScope came out and everybody staring at the screen and viewership dropped again. So this week's discussion was MLF is going to announce that they're going to limit LiveScope usage to 1 period only. You guys have a thought on that? Care? Doesn't matter? I listened to Blockett's podcast the other day, and he said it doesn't matter. You cheat, and if you give them a period to cheat, so what? It doesn't fix anything. I'm not saying it's cheating. I'm just using Blockett's terms. That's what he likes to call it.
I don't see it as cheating. I think it's a good first step in the right direction. I think, like you hit it right on the head. It's about viewership, and BASS, Fox Sports 1. It's about how many people are watching that show, and I know I'm a fan as much as a fisherman, and I know watching guys out there in the middle looking down at their graph. I don't care to watch it. I would much rather see a guy throwing on a cypress tree somewhere.
He walked right into it. You ready?
What?
He walked right into it.
I'm listening.
So he said he was a fan. MLF or BSS?
It doesn't matter.
They're both.
Do you watch the shows?
That's what I mean. Not as much anymore.
Okay. So no one's answered this question yet, have they?
What?
The question I always ask at every episode. No one has? Okay. Can you name me? I'm gonna back it up. Okay. Name me 3 of the top hot prospective anglers right now out on the trail?
And Drew Gill
Okay.
is one. Probably Matt Becker.
Don't know him.
Well, I know what you're getting.
Yeah,
at.
2.
And
Yeah, that's fine. No, it's good. Who won the Classic last year?
I can picture.
And see, and I'm not picking on you because every guest we've had, it's the same thing. You know, they're not the notorieties that those blue collar Classic winners were. You know, when it was exciting, it was fun. You know, and I'm not picking on you, and nobody can answer it.
Yeah.
You know, and we talk about it every week, and I still can't remember how to ask him who won the Classic.
I can picture the old boy.
No, you had it.
He's leading angler of the year right now.
Black hair.
Uh,
Damn, you have it every week.
I
now you
normally
forgot.
do, yeah,
I tricked
but-
you. Anyway, who is it? Who?
Justin Hamner.
Hamner. Thank you, Justin Hamner. See, there you go.
But
And we talk about it. He had a deserved win. I mean, he wasn't. He used live scope. He threw a jerk bait. He caught the fish. We've had this conversation a bunch, but they just don't market the anglers like they used to. You know, it's just it's a tough go. You know, it's hard for viewership because they don't watch it like they did.
I've researched Hamner just a little bit.
Yeah.
He's the one that taught them all how to do it.
Ah.
It's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
You know, the Jacob Wheelers and stuff like that. At a very young age, he was excelling at it way better than anybody else.
Yep.
And he taught several of the bigger name pros how to use it efficiently. And now he is leading Angler of the Year by 90 points.
Yeah.
And the last tournament is right now in New York. So
You know,
he's going to be Angler of the Year this year too. So anything ever negative that I had to say about him at one point in time because he won the Classic, kind of live scoping, I got to retract that back. Because you don't win Angler of the Year solely with that electronics. All right, you have to do everything a little bit.
Are we going to have an argument about it?
And no, we're
Because
not going
it
to,
depends.
because-
That depends solely on the water in which you fish. Because you can win Angler of the Year if they're fishing controlled waters, smaller lakes, easier to scope. You know, I keep saying, Roger, I don't think you could win an Angler of the Year fishing consistently on Lake of the Ozarks because you can't use live scope on this lake 365. You know, conditions change too much. River bite comes on, the shallow, it might not work for a guy. But if you're fishing, I mean, it's like the trophy live scoper guys that go and take guides out down in Texas. They don't fish Fork. They don't fish Rayburn. They go and fish OH Ivy, which are smaller lakes. You know, it's easier to chase them down. You know, you don't see a scoper win on Eufaula in Oklahoma. You don't.
But
see
Hamner's kind of figured out how to catch them even shallow. you know,
I mean,
on the deal.
This whole new
And-
perspective screen and
that's
what
how he
they're
won the
doing.
Classic.
Yeah, and that's they're learning how to utilize it even more.
Yeah,
And-
he won it finding brush.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm
he
kinda,
found
you know-
brush piles that not everybody else was, beating the hell out of
Sure.
with a jerk bait, and he won the tournament because of it.
and you got it.
And
You got
that's
to.
what I do.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, and that's what you do. You got to get away from other people and find where those fish live. You know, it's-
Me and Roger talked about it a little bit before the show started. You know, Lawson utilizes it a lot here on Lake of the Ozarks, but it's basically to tell him, okay, is there a fish in that pile of brush? Where normally you'd have to make 2 or 3 casts. And now, if he finds one in a pile of brush, he might make 20 casts to that pile of brush.
Sure.
And it's just another tool. To say he's actually looking at the fish coming and biting his bait, he's not. But it makes him stay and fish certain places longer than he normally would.
And not blind.
And there was a time this season, about a month ago, where those fish suspended terribly bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all standing above them. And when they were standing above those piles of brush, you could not catch them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were deeper than you could throw like a jerk bait. And that's kind of the cool thing about Hamner right now. He's catching a lot of those fish on a jerk bait.
Right.
And it's just those fish are suspended about 10 foot deep. And he's doing the same thing that we do here in February and March. He's just catching them the wrong time of the year on the proper presentation, So he's using his head,
Yeah, you would never fish a summertime tournament years ago with
No,
a stick bait. You
never.
wouldn't think about it.
Never. Wouldn't even
Well,
tie
who
it
thought
on.
Not
2
in the
years
boat,
ago
not
that
even
you'd
in the
fish?
Nope.
Yeah, who thought 2 years ago you'd fishing wave breaks with a jerk bait? On this lake, even. It's just it became a new thing. So
It
yeah.
happened here last year, too.
Yeah.
in the invitational that they had here.
Yes.
They wrecked them on live scope.
Trey McKinney.
Not
Yep.
hey, not what you thought, was it?
What's that?
You thought you were gonna sit here and talk about like how to throw a jig,
No,
right?
that's cool.
Did you like it?
No, that's good.
We're about done.
What else you got? Keep coming.
So I got something I want to announce tonight. And guess what, Dion? You're going to fish a tournament in November.
All right.
And you don't even realize it yet. Probably I'm going to get Roger to fish it too, but I've got this great idea. Real Unfiltered Talk is going to do it. I'm going to talk to, I'm sure Bass and Bob will get on board. I'm sure he will, because this is the coolest idea I've had in a long time. So I went ahead and put it together. I'm going to put it up on the screen and show you. And it's right there on your left, and I'll show it if you can see it over here, if I can find it here. So what I'm going to call it is, come on now. All right, let me transition so everyone on the screen can see it. 11/2/24. We're going to call it the Reverse Bass Tournament. All right?
Gotcha.
Smallest legal limit of fish. Not the biggest. Smallest. 7 fish limit. Okay? Do you know why? Because you can't fish by yourself. Because the legal limit state of Missouri is 6. So 7, that means you have to have a partner. $100 entry fee. 100% payback. And now I went through regattas today. 11/2 is the only one where they don't have a pile of stuff going on. And it's before deer season, so it'll work. And the Kentuckys will be all stacked up about November, right?
Yeah. But you gotta make sure it's not too close to the Missouri Invitational.
We looked at that. That was
12th to the 15th.
yeah. Well, this is the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're
I didn't hear
in
you
the
say
window.
second, sorry.
We'll be at the Toyota Series.
Well, you won't have to fish then.
Yep.
So I've already got people lined up. It's going to take 5 people to run the tournament. You have to have 2. We're going to have a courtesy bump so people can identify the species first. So we're not disqualifying them if they have the wrong stuff, because you know as well as I do, it's hard to determine a skinny 12-inch fish between a largemouth and a Kentucky, some of these guys. But the other one, so we have a guy doing that. Then when you go to the bump tank, we'll have 2 people. And if you present a fish that is short or the wrong species, instant DQ. All right? Because you get a chance to bump them at the other tank. So if you come up that, you're too late. Guy weighs them, guy scores them, pay them out, small string. That's a challenge now.
That'll be different.
That'd be fun. I talked to your son about it. You know what he said? I'm getting my crappie jigs out, boy. We're going to have us a party.
right.
And I'm like, okay.
There'll be a lot of ties.
Tie
Yep.
by the earliest entry. That's the way ties are broken. And that's fine.
Huh.
What do you think?
I don't know.
I'm doing it.
I'll probably fish.
Yeah, you can
Just-
fish.
Just because it's different.
Because it's the only way. I figure it's the only way I can get under 11 pounds to have a chance to win. Follow me?
Can we fish with minnows?
No live bait.
No.
No live bait. Yep, no live bait. Which we're getting into that whole, big bass coming out the crappie thing, and the questions are pouring in because you know my history with crappie. Are they going to be able to live scope? You're going to be able to use live bait. You're going to be able to let guides fish. You're going to let pros fish. I said, I don't know. They haven't announced any of that stuff yet. But we're going to have to bring Randy or one of the guys back on and talk about it a little bit. So on that fishing tournament. So look he's studying it.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think, Roger?
Thinking about it. I think,
If it's stupid, say so. It's okay.
doesn't Bass and Bob
That's
do
hard.
that in his...
But
yeah, in
it's
his
a
wintertime
wild
series?
card thing though.
Yes.
Not a tournament.
Yeah, smaller stringer.
Yeah, that's for the guy that sucks and he's like, let's just bring in what we got and let's hope we can get a check. That's because we've had that conversation in the boat. Trust me, I've had that conversation. Like, let's ditch these out. Let's go try to catch a few more small ones and see what we can do.
Jim Dill turned back a 3-pounder one time
To
just
go
so
for
he could
small.
win.
Yeah. But see, this changes the whole aspect of how even to fish, to cull. It's challenging.
I've kind of enjoyed
little
those
fish.
deals over the years.
Yeah. You're in, right?
Ray Scott had a 2-pound line tournament once. I thought that was the greatest thing I ever fished.
Here's the problem, though. Do you do the opposite and you have a big fish for this tournament as well?
No, you got to have smallest.
Yeah, that'd be harder. I have a postage scale to weigh them, though.
I don't care what you got to do. That's your fault. You're
The
one come
smallest
up-
fish, yeah.
You're the one come up with this
Well, we were
game plan.
because see, I had a tournament committee I formed of 3, Lawson, Dad, myself. We put it together.
That's a good one to ask.
I know. Yeah. So Lawson wanted to do a big fish. So like it's the opposite. You can go fish for one big or you can fish for small. And I said I don't want to do that because
No.
everyone would be fishing for one big.
It's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing. So smallest would be good, but like Roger said, you got ties and that could be a little difficult.
You're gonna have to put something in there that's gonna have to say you can't make them puke either.
Oh
'Cause
my God!
You're gonna have people
Don't,
coughing.
now
that
see,
stuff
you
up.
can't say that. Now they're gonna know.
I'm just telling you.
You can't do
I
that
get in there
either.
and I get one of them little chubby ones. He's gonna throw up before he goes up the scale.
I don't even want to ask how do you make a bass throw up, and we don't want to go there. Look at
Right down the throat. That's the same way I check out to see what they're eating.
that. I always thought you did that to push the shad in to make sure he doesn't come out.
Don't tell me you've never made one throw up so you know what he's eating.
No.
Oh, hell, that's
you
one
don't
of the
want
first things I do. If I go to a brand new lake,
how are you going to make sure that you tell? Listen, I just want everybody to know. Welcome to the tournament. You can't let your fish puke. You can't force them to puke. And they're going to say, well, how are you going to police that?
I'm just going to tell you, if I'm going to fish it, I'm going to be entirely invested in it to win.
So, no, you can't make
Right before you get to the weigh-in, you throw a little peroxide in the live well and make him throw up. You
can't make a fish vomit before you weigh it in, all right? Don't stick your finger down its throat. Whatever it is. Now you can't fish. You just advertised how to cheat. Now I'm going to have to change the whole tournament again.
My dad, when we would go like to the north or something like that, and if he ever caught one and it was really fat, he'd like, I wonder what that one's eating, And if he couldn't stick his finger down his throat and make it throw up, I have seen him clean one.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd cut sides off. We'd eat it, but I have seen him fillet one just to see what makes them so full. Because when you get one that's really porky like that, and it's in like the fall or something like that, he's doing the right thing. He's eating exactly what he's supposed to be eating. And if you go to a lake where you're not sure what the forage is, that's the easiest way to find out.
So you
get lucky, you catch a fat one.
The AIA championships at Table Rock that same weekend too, which I'm still cool with it because then those guys can't play. It'll be like an amateur tournament, but there's no other weekend open. So anyway, if
you might not get lost in the fish at that.
If you're interested in wanting to do a reverse bass tournament, the email's up there. AskRealTalk@gmail.com. Throw me some dates. Throw me some ideas. Let's put one together. I'll do it. Why not? It's an idea, but I'd like to do it. I think it'd be fun. No,
I think it'll work. I think it's something that might accidentally work.
It's either that or a carp tournament. Your choice.
I just wish you would get like my son's picture off of the same page with it.
I want you to see that. It's pretty good, right?
I don't really want him to associate that much
I thought,
to it.
I thought it was good.
So.
All right. Shameless plug section. What do you got tonight?
We'll leave that to Roger. Roger's.
But you're wearing the Bojangles shirt.
Well,
you're already plugging them.
Bojangles shirt. Oh. I worked all day long. It's the cleanest T-shirt I could come up with.
Are you packaging or pouring?
Huh?
Packaging or pouring?
I did both today.
Or are you just sitting back saying, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this?
That's one thing that I do, and the nice thing about being involved in that like that, Lawson and Bo are both really in tune with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got 4 or 5 colors that they're making, and that's all they want to make. And I sit down with all the different baits and different options, and I'm like, you need to make this and that color. And they're like, for what? And I said, November. And they're like, oh, yeah, that'd be good. So I'm a little bit kind of the voice of reason when it comes to, hey, we need to make a few of them this color. So we're a little bit better prepared.
Coming from a guy who named a jig low back tat.
Yeah. I did not name that. That was not me.
Or bar fight.
I did not name those jigs.
Yep, your name's on them.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, just checking.
I'm not saying I don't claim them. I'm just saying I did not name the jigs.
Yeah.
All right, Roger, you got anybody that's paying your bills other than your back pocket?
No, I just had a bunch of great companies with me for a long, long time. I mean, St. Croix, you mentioned earlier. Goodness, I met Dan Johnston 30-something years ago at a Kansas City boat show when I just got started. I mean, not even started yet, and I had a no fiberglass St. Croix crankbait rod that I told him that I liked, and asked him what my chances were to somehow get any type of sponsorship, and I've been with them ever since. So they've been a great sponsor.
They still with you now that you're proclaimed to be retired?
Still with me.
Right.
Still with me.
All right, just checking.
They're outstanding, man. And I've had a lot of them like that at Omega Jigs. And
what was his name again?
Dan Johnson.
Okay, Dan. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Dan was the rep back then. He's got a different role there now. He's still with them, but really good dude. Got quite a few.
Fire away, man. This is your chance.
Dude, I'll forget about them all. But no, just a lot of good companies that have backed me for a long, long time, and I do appreciate them all.
What kind of boat you running now?
On a Ranger. Ranger Mercury. I was with Skeeter for I mean, I used to be ranger for many years, and
Yeah, everybody was.
yeah, many rangers, and then had probably 6 skeeters maybe. Very happy with them as well. While I was with Ranger, I was also had Yamaha too. We were that's all I had on my Rangers, and then of course skeeters owned by Yamaha had those. But
That's a switch going from silence to noise.
yeah, it's a big difference. But then sport boats went out of business. John Williams was the owner. They went out of business. Baitworks bought them and stuff, and a lot of things transpired there.
They went out of business. Yeah.
Had an opportunity to.
We're gonna have Joe McBride on. He's got a lot to say about some things like that, so
Yeah.
it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Nothing negative, but just the industry as a whole.
But yeah,
Yeah.
been with Ranger for 2 or 3 years with Pro's Choice up in Warsaw. So,
Right on.
But yeah, it's all been good.
All right. That went by pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know? You tired?
Me? Nope,
Yeah.
I'm good.
All right. He gets all quiet. I think I'm not sure if he's mad or he's like
Nope,
he's processing.
I'm letting Roger talk. Roger does a great job, and
Well, we really appreciate
and
you having
were
up
off on sriracha and
Mexican cookies.
something. No, not Mexican cook. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
Oreos,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Mexico cookies.
Yeah.
I forgot. So I'm just letting
It's all
Roger
good.
talk.
It's poem night. You ready?
Poem.
I close out with a poem.
Okay.
All right, you've heard it before. You ever heard the navigational poem?
No.
So basically,
Roger's a good one because Roger does not tell you. He does not sugarcoat it. Have you
Yeah.
heard the poem?
no.
And that's
What's your-
perfect.
what's your
because
go-to
that
bait?
makes me feel so good about myself.
Yeah, I'm just like, no. So, again, we thank everyone for watching this Wednesday night. We'll be on the same time next week, Wednesday night. We've got some really good guests lined up. Not that you haven't been awesome. You're awesome. Or the ones we had before. We've made contact with Peter T, I believe. You're going to.
Sure.
Right?
Anytime.
You said, Peter T.
Anytime.
I got my list. Hang on a minute. Let me tell you what. Grab this here. Here's some of the tentatives we got coming up for the next few weeks. Reach out to Jim Lovin. He's an industry insider. He's cool. I've talked to the MDC, Missouri Department of Conservation. We're working on getting a biologist in here. Joe McBride on the Indrits, pro fisherman, and Casey Scanlon. Reached out to James Watson. I haven't heard back from him yet. Probably won't, but it's all right. And I have had conversation with Randy Blockett. So those guys are in the hoop. Today I spoke with Terry Brown. He's the CEO of Wired to Fish, and he's going to come on the show, and it's going to be cool. So we've got some really good stuff coming down the line. It's going to be a good time, and I'm asking you all to please log on to youtube.com, subscribe, like our page, follow us, tell your friends, and as always, I always say, be careful, wear your kill switch, navigate safely, have a good time out in the water, be safe, and there's a poem behind it. And when you're navigating at night, it's always green to green, red to red, all is well, go ahead. When in danger or in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. From all of us here at Real Unfiltered Talk, I want to thank you for watching tonight. See you next week at 6 p.m. Roger, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it.